Look, going through a divorce is unbelievably stressful. And then you have to figure out your home's value on top of everything else. It's often the biggest asset you both own, so getting that number right is absolutely critical. Okay, let's dive in and make this whole appraisal process a lot less confusing. So you're left with this massive question. What is our home actually worth? And I'm not talking about what you paid for it or what some website's algorithm spits out. We're talking about a very specific number that will actually hold up in a legal setting. But here's the good news. This isn't as complicated as you might think. We're going to walk through the exact same factors that an appraiser looks at step by step, so you'll know precisely how they get to that final number. Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, boils down to one key idea. This is the bedrock for the entire valuation, and it's called fair market value. Now, think about what this definition is really saying. This isn't a rushed fire sale price because someone's desperate, and it's not some pie-in-the-sky asking price either. It's supposed to be this objective, neutral estimate of what a normal buyer would pay a normal seller under normal conditions. That's the bullseye the appraiser is aiming for. So how do they land on that number? Well, you've got to remember, your home doesn't exist in a vacuum. Its value is almost completely tied to what's happening in the market right outside your front door. The absolute number one tool an appraiser uses is looking at comps, which is short for comparable sales. They're hunting for recent sales of homes that are as similar to yours as humanly possible, right there in your immediate area. This is really where the heavy lifting of the valuation begins. And this right here gives you a perfect snapshot of how this actually plays out. An appraiser literally lines up your home against these recently sold ones. So let's say comp number one sold for $425,000, but it has an extra half bathroom that your house doesn't. Well, the appraiser makes a downward adjustment to that price to make it a more apples-to-apples comparison. They do this for every single important feature. And this is so important. The quality of those comps is everything. Are they actually recent sales, or are they from 6 months ago? Are they really in your specific Cumberland neighborhood, or are they from across town? And, is the market hot right now, or is it cooling off? All of these outside forces play a huge role. All right, so once they've looked at the market around you, the appraiser then, turns their focus inward. They start looking at the specific condition and the features of your actual home. Remember those little adjustments we just mentioned? This is exactly where they come from. If you've got a brand new kitchen or a recently replaced roof, that's going to boost your value compared to the comps. But on the flip side, if you've got an ancient furnace or a leaky faucet, well, that's called deferred maintenance, and it's definitely going to pull the value down. Okay, and here's where things get, let's just say a little more complicated, especially in a divorce. It's not just about what the home is worth today, it's about what it was worth on a very specific, legally important date. You see, this date of value is a huge deal. It could be the date you separated, or the date you filed for divorce, or even the date you settle. And as we all know, the real estate market can go on a wild ride in that amount of time. A home's value is never static, so figuring out and agreeing on this date is a massive part of the whole negotiation. And this is another super important piece of the puzzle for a divorce. You're not actually dividing the total value of the house. No, you're dividing the equity. And that's pretty simple. It's the fair market value after you subtract whatever is still owed on the mortgage. That number, that's the pot of money that's actually on the table. Whew, okay, I know that's a ton to take in, so what do you actually do now? Let's map out a clear, really simple action plan to move forward. All right, here are your next steps. Super simple. First, you need to hire a certified professional. Those online estimates are not going to cut it in court, and make sure they have experience with divorce cases specifically. And finally, just remember, if you really don't agree with the value they come up with, getting a second opinion is a totally normal and valid option. Look, if there is just one thing you remember from all of this, let it be this quote right here. When it's all said and done, it always comes back to the local market. What are people actually willing to pay for a house just like yours, in your neighborhood, right now? That's the whole ballgame. And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. We've been saying Cumberland, but which one? Is it a city, a county, a neighborhood? The name exists in so many different places, and the specific market data, the local rules, they can be drastically different from one to the next. So the real question is, do you know the rules in the market for your Cumberland? Getting that right is the key to getting through this with confidence.